Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with week 4, lesson 4. Before we do that, quick announcement. Don't forget, tomorrow there's going to be no new lesson because teachers are writing report cards. So you guys can work through lesson 5, but I'm not going to be posting a YouTube video. So see what you can do on your own. If you can't do it all, that's totally fine. We'll come back around to it on Monday if you have any questions. Today's lesson may seem like it's a little tricky, but it's all stuff that you guys have seen before. It's just lots of steps and it's lots of different ways of writing the same thing. So you may need to watch this video more than once, but I definitely want you to use it when you're doing your problem set. So if you're confused at any point in the problem set, come back to this video and rewatch it. And then also you can meet with Ms. Bowers and Ms. Fisher at 2 o'clock today to go over the problem set if you have any questions. All right, let's get started. I'm going to share my slides with you. So give me a second. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going to be able to generate equivalent fractions using area models. So yesterday you guys were using tape diagrams, decomposing the tape diagrams. Today we're going to be decomposing these area models, and this is all something that you've seen before. So let's dive right in. Okay, the first one says, draw horizontal lines to decompose the rectangle into 2 rows. So remember, rows go horizontal, columns go vertical. So we're decomposing it into 2 rows. Use the model to name the shaded area as both a sum of unit fractions. So we're going to be writing a sum of unit fractions and the multiplication sentence that mix. So we're taking everything that we've learned this week and putting it into 1. So we're going to decompose, we're going to write the sum, and then we're going to write the multiplication sentence. So it's 3 steps. Let's go through them. So we started with 1/3. Then to make 2 rows, we drew this horizontal dotted line across. Now, so 1/3 was shaded. Now 2/6 are shaded because we have each one of these boxes is now a 1/6 and 2 of them are shaded. So that's what we're showing here. So I started with 1/3. 1/3 is equal to 1/6 plus 1/6, which is 2/6, because this is 1/6 and this is 1/6. All together, so when I add those together, we get 2/6. Now this is like a repeated addition sentence. We're just rewriting it down here as multiplication. I have 2 groups of 1/6, so I can write that as 2 times 1/6. And that's all there is to it. We're going to do another problem that's a little bit more complicated just because there are more pieces. It doesn't get any more complicated than this. It's just that there are more pieces. So let's take a look here. It says, draw an area model to show the decomposition represented by the number sentence below. So this is the number sentence that we're looking at, and we're doing the decomposing. Represent the decomposition again as the sum of unit fractions and a multiplication sentence. And you guys are going to be doing this during your problem set. I know that right about now somebody, probably Zachariah, would have asked me, are we going to have to do this for our problem set? Yes, you are. Okay. So here we go. We started with 1/2. And this is my 1/2 right here. Then, let me fix that to make it a little bit more clear what I mean. Uh-oh. So this is my 1/2. Now I'm going to decompose it to show 2/4. So if we draw 1 horizontal line, that gives us 2/4. Now all of a sudden my halves are 4ths. This is 1/4 and this is 1/4. So I'm writing it as 1/2 equals 1/4 plus 1/4, which equals 2/4. Now, since I'm adding together 2 groups of 1/4, I can rewrite that as 2 times 1/4. Okay, So now I'm also going to show that 1/2 is equal to 6/12. Now the only reason that this is any more complicated is because we have more pieces and our number sentence is going to be longer. So we start with 1/2. Again, here's my 1/2. And I'm going to decompose it to make sixths. So what I need to do is draw 6 horizontal lines across, or I'm sorry, 5 lines, 6 rows across to get 6/12. So now I have 1/6, or I'm sorry, 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12. Altogether, that's 6/12. And that's exactly what they wrote right here. They're just adding up all the 1/12 that are shaded. Now, since I have 6 of them, I can rewrite that as 6 times 1/12. 6 groups of 1/12 is 6/12. And that's what we have there. Okay, so now it asks us to explain why 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 is the same as a half. Well, if we add all of these up, then you guys know it. How many 12ths are we going to have? Well, it's 6/12. 6/12 is the same as a half, because if you take a half and you decompose it into 6 rows, then you get 6/12. So they're equivalent. Also, 6 is half of 12, so that's another way that I know that it's equal to 1/2. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, I know that some of you guys are probably taking a look at this and going, is this woman crazy? What is all these numbers? I want you to forget about these for now. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide them so you don't even have to look at them. So it says, the rectangle represents one whole. Draw horizontal lines to decompose the rectangle into 12ths. Use the model to name the shaded area as the sum and as a product. So that's your addition sentence and that's your multiplication sentence of unit fractions. Use parentheses to show the relationship between the number sentences. Okay, I know that direction is a little bit confusing, so I'm going to show you what they mean by using parentheses. Let's just look at the area model first and think about what's going on here. So if we imagine the dotted line isn't there, let's find out what fraction that is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and 4 of them are shaded. So we're starting with 4/6. That's our original fraction. Now the directions say we need to make 12ths. So let's ask ourselves, how should we decompose this area model to make 12 equal pieces? Well, if we have 6 already, we can just decompose it into 2 rows to get 12ths, because 6 times 2 is 12. So now all of a sudden, my 6ths aren't 6ths anymore, they're 12ths, and I have 8 of them. So each one of these squares is a 12th. And I'm going to see if I can try and label it, because I think that will be helpful. And you guys can try and label this on your paper too. So that's 1/12. This is 1/12. This is 1/12. Okay, well, you know what I mean here. I'm going to stop labeling it because it's messy. But we know that each one of those is 1/12. So I'm just going to label one of them, I think, because it's hard on this computer. But if I had the smartboard, I would label them all. So each one is 1/12, and they're grouped in groups of 2/12. Each shaded section here, or each 6th, is 2/12. So here we have, this is our group of 2/12, and this is going to be important in a second. So I want you to think about these as groups of 2/12. All right, so let's take a look at the first number sentence. So we started with 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. That's what we had before we decomposed. Now that equals 8/12. Altogether, I have here 8/12 added together. But the parentheses is just showing that group of two of them together. So there are, in every 1/6, it's 2/12. So all it's saying is 1/6 is equal to 2/12. And we can see that in the shaded section. And so that's why they put the parentheses. That's what they're talking about. So this group here, it was a 1/6, now it's 2/12, and I'm showing that with this parentheses. Altogether, that's 8/12. So that's really all it's saying. Now let's look at the next row. This is the multiplication sentence. So here, again, I have 8/12. That's the same as what's written up there. And we're just rewriting it as a multiplication sentence. These are groups of 2/12, so I'm writing it as 2 times 1/12, 4 times. 2 times 1/12, 2 times 1/12, 2 times 1/12, 2 times 1/12. Altogether, that equals 8/12. All right. So 4/6 is the same as 8 groups of 1/12, which is 8/12. And that's it. So when you break it down and go through it one sentence at a time, all it is describing the area model. But if you're still confused, you can always call me or log into Teams today. Okay, let's look at the last one. So it says, draw an area model to show the decomposition represented by 2/3 equals 6/9. Express 2/3 is equal to 6/9 as the sum and product. So that's addition sentence, multiplication sentence of unit fractions. And then use the parentheses to show the groupings. Or when they say the relationship between the number sentences, they're just showing, how many ninths there are in each 1/3. So the shaded part here that we're starting with is 2/3. To make it ninths, we're going to make 3 rows because 3 times 3 is 9. So now each one of these is a ninth. And I have 6 of them shaded. So 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9. Now, in every third, which is the part that I'm circling right now, that's a third, is equal to 3/9. And that's what we're going to see over here in this sentence. So I have 2/3, 2 1/3, and each third is equal to 3/9. So that's the parentheses. That's what I put in the addition sentence. Then I have another 1/3, and that's equal to 3/9. Altogether, I have 6/9 shaded. Now we can write that as a multiplication sentence. 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9. You can rewrite that as 3 times 1/9. We did that twice. And that equals 6/9. So when you're trying to figure out how many unit fractions to put in the parentheses, look at the shaded part here. How could you group them? They're grouped into columns of 3. Each third is equal to 3/9. That's how I know. Okay, we're going to do a let's try now. It says, draw horizontal lines to decompose each rectangle into the number of rows indicated. Use the model to give the shaded area as both the sum of unit fractions and as a multiplication sentence. So we're doing sum of unit fractions, multiplication sentence, and we're decomposing using horizontal lines to make rows. That's all it's saying. So we started with 1/4. They drew one horizontal line. So now instead of having fourths, I have eighths. So that equals 2/8. Wow, that doesn't look like an 8 at all. I thought I would get better at this, but I'm really not. Okay. All right, so 2/8. 1/4 is 1/8 plus 1/8. So I'm going to put another 1/8 here. Remember, you should have your paper out. You should be doing this with me, probably a lot faster than me because it takes me so long to do it on the computer. 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8. Now I'm going to write this as a multiplication sentence. So it's 2 times 1/8, because I have two groups of 1/8, is equal to 2/8. So this is the multiplication sentence and the addition sentence that they asked for. The sum of unit fractions and the multiplication sentence. That's what these are. All right, let's look at the next one. So here we're starting, the directions are the same. Each rectangle shows one whole. We're drawing horizontal lines to decompose it into the fractions that are shown. And then we're going to do the sum and product of unit fractions. Let me move this. So that's an addition sentence and a multiplication sentence. And we're going to do the parentheses this time. So now we started with 2/3 and then it was decomposed. So now I have, you can look at what's shaded. There are 4/6. So here we're showing that 2/3 is equal to 4/6. So at first we started with 1/3 and 1/3. So here that's 1/3 plus 1/3 is equal to 2/6. Now I have 1/6 and 1/6. So I'm going to put parentheses around those 2/6 because 2/6 is equal to 1/3. So that's 1/6 and 1/6 all together. That's 4/6. I'm sorry, 1/3, 2/6, and 2/6 gives me 4/6. I'm sorry about that, guys. Now I can write that as a multiplication sentence. 2/6 is the same as 2 times 1/6. And we have two groups of them. So that's another 2 times 1/6. And altogether, that's 4/6. So that's 4 times 1/6 equals 4/6. Okay, the problem set I want you guys to do on your own. If you have questions, you can comment on this video, or you can wait until 2 o'clock and Ms. Fisher and Ms. Bowers will go through the whole problem set with you. And no lesson tomorrow, so I will see you guys on Monday. All right, have a great weekend.